Good morning-ish or whenever. So, God, I feel like I'm always giving bad news. It's been a crazy week, people. Hang on, let me back out of my crazy driveway. When I say I have a crazy driveway, it is insane. Okay, the hill that I have to drive down scares me for the winter, just saying. Yeah. Okay, where to start with this conversation? Okay, so, weird story. I was doing, because it's, Halloween season, it's spooky season. I recently recorded a video, I think it was Monday, about ghosts and my theory on ghosts. And then I got a call that night, right when I was about to clock out for work, that my father was in the rough shape. They didn't think he was going to make it through the night. Tuesday morning, early, first thing Tuesday morning, my father passed away. So it has been a week of absolute Hello Kitty. I don't know what to feel. I go from not wanting to feel to dissociating completely to pouring everything I have into work, and then when I'm home, I'm doing something I don't want to write. Crazy enough, this is so weird. So, I published a book back in 2009. It was shit and read like Twilight, and this is before I ever read Twilight, because, I was the baby author. So, I've had people, several companies approach me about republishing. Cool. So, I felt good about it. I started writing it. In that story, the father dies in the very first chapter. Pretty traumatic. It's probably why I can't write it right now. But it might be the best time to write it because it's more emotional for me. It's more raw, so maybe I can really put my feelings into that. So I don't know. That's just a side note. Just weird. Just weirdness. So, yes, he passed. We are planning to go up to Connecticut probably in about 3 weeks. To do his celebration of life, which is what he wanted, and I get to see my family that I haven't seen in years, because, we're all spread out. So it's sad. I'm sad. I lost my dog, I lost my dad, I lost my grandfather, all within a 6-month freaking period. So it sucks. It sucks, but that made me reflect back on a conversation that I was having with my stepmom about my video. And I was like, you know what? Let me reapproach this. First of all, I didn't know losing a parent could be so goddamn hard. Ghost. Let me get on topic here. Ghost. I grew up where I'm at right now in Gloucester, Virginia. Which is right outside of Yorktown, Jamestown, and Williamsburg. I work in Williamsburg. There is enough history here that you would think this entire area, this historical triangle, plus my hometown, which has some Revolutionary War and then some, history, would be covered by ghosts. And it's always interesting to me that hauntings happen in houses. Hauntings, most of the stories that I hear about hauntings are unfinished business, or people who don't know they're dead, or who died in a traumatic way. Then you hear hauntings of benevolence, or, like spooky, crazy, psycho spirits. But that seems to be the general, right? And it had me thinking, why is it always in a house? Where I grew up, I would expect to see, okay, people, tons of ghosts. Tons of ghosts. I would expect to see them walking through my yard. I would expect them to be walking the battlefields. Now, there are some paranormal investigators I swear they got EVPs. EVPs are not scientific facts, people. It could be literally anything. I mean, my God, I heard a deer the other day and I could have sworn it was Bigfoot. Just saying. That's where my mind went. Yeah. Now, I'm not trying to knock people who believe in ghosts. I'm not trying to knock people who investigate, because it is fascinating. And they're in my back of my mind, it's like, well, what if? So I did this whole video on why I don't believe in ghosts. And how when I was a small child, or not even a small child, I'm very sensitive to things. So I used to think that I would be able to pick those things up. And sometimes I thought I could. And then I realized it was just my imagination. And it was just my what ifs and my pretend and my wishes. Because I was trying to make sense of this super empathic thing that I have going. And maybe I just wanted to find where I belonged, something. So then that got me on the topic of psychics and mediums. I kind of took a neutral stance for a while on psychics and mediums because, to be honest, I originally didn't see the harm. And then somebody brought something to I think I was watching a video or something, and they brought something to my attention to where it's preying on the vulnerable. People are trying to find closure to something that they have not gotten closure on. So I get it. Go to a counselor. Not a psychic. Don't pay these people money. They don't have any other special powers. Like, let's say that ghosts did exist, or that you could talk to the dead, right? You can do that yourself. What makes them so special? Is it because they're more sensitive? I mean, again, like going back to what, I'm thinking, is it because we're more sensitive to these things? We're more open? That is a common argument, but anybody can be more sensitive and be more open if you just try, right? Like, I would think that if you lost a loved one, they would be more open to talk to you than some stranger that's never met you. And then you go into the cold readings, and when you really start, I went into the deep dive of the rabbit hole in this one, and I was like, oh, okay, cold readings. Oh, okay, that makes sense, because I pick up on people's body languages. I pick up on their behaviors and their moods, so I get it. And losing my dad, I was daddy's little girl for a very long time, and it's hard on me, and it's hard on my sister, it's hard on my whole family. I would give anything to hear his voice one last time. I heard it Saturday. It's not good enough. I would give anything to have a full conversation, to know that he was proud of me. I don't need a stranger to tell me how my dad felt. I want to hear it from my father. There's something special about that, and that would bring me closure. Speaking to a stranger that I have no proof if they're actually, let's say ghosts did exist, how do I know you're actually talking to my dad and not something demonic? I mean, no. Not inviting that into my life. I've got enough shit going on. And then I see all these psychics and mediums popping up on TikTok and on YouTube. And you know what, guys? No offense to you. Don't come at me. I don't want a reading. I don't want you to say, oh, I can feel your pain and I know you're sensitive. I feel my own pain. And that is mine to deal with. If I want to talk to somebody, I will go talk to my mother. I will go talk to my sister. I will go talk to my father myself, even though I may not be a believer. Sometimes it's therapeutic. So which brought me on to another subject, and I'm getting a little hyped up, and I'm sorry. I can understand speaking to your loved ones, visiting their graves, all of that. Because you can have a private conversation, and there's something therapeutic about that. You may never get an answer, but it's pretending you're talking to this person, and I think there's something therapeutic about that, with the rational thinking that they're not going to answer back. I really struggled with this one. I really did. Ghosts don't exist. There's no proof at this time to tell me that ghosts truly exist. And if they did, why don't I see them everywhere? You can't tell me that growing up where I grew up, there is not a lot of unfinished business. We got 16, 17-year-olds that were on a battlefield. You can't tell me. No. Why is it only houses? Are they just stuck? Like, I mean, I don't... I wish I could say I've had a paranormal experience. I really haven't. Now, the other day, I left work early. My dumb butt decided to go to work the next day. I needed to. I just was like, but I hadn't slept. And sometimes when we don't sleep, our minds play tricks on us. But I'm on my way home, and I'm an emotional mess. And my husband texts me, say, hey, be careful driving up because there's some stray dogs. And I'm like, great, you know. I open the door, and I'm greeted by this ginormous yellow lab. Sweet as can be, just kissing all over me, and we played ball until the owner came and got him. I mean, his name was Jack. My dad loved Jack Daniels. He did. But Jack is a common dog to many people. But I said to myself, thanks, Dad. I don't really believe that my father sent the dog. I don't believe that one bit. But it was therapeutic. It made me giggle, and it made me get out of my mood. Does that make sense? It did. It made me get out of my mood. And I was talking to my stepmom about it, you know, and like even now, I can hear his goofy voice and his songs that he sings, which are good. Those are good things, you know. Those are good things. But as someone who literally just lost someone very special to me, it makes me sick to my stomach to think of how many people prey on the vulnerable. I think it's gross. I think it's a moral problem. Do I really think that these people believe that they can do these things? Some of them truly believe they're helping. They really do. And maybe they are. I don't know. I've never been to one. But there's nothing one can say to me that I don't already know. Or that I can't figure out on my own. Or that I can't go to a counselor, which I think I need to go back because I'm not doing okay. But it's still very new. It's only been a couple of days. And I guess we'll see.